Have you ever wondered about your ancestors and where you come from? Our friend Sunny used a genetic kit a couple of years ago to find his biological dad.
When I was 12, my mother told me the man on my birth certificate was not my biological father. And that wasn't a surprise to me because I looked totally different than like everyone in my family. And it was not a shock to me, but it did begin to bring up questions. Well, who is my biological father? First thing I do is I order one of those ancestry kits, ancestry.com. Then I order 23andme.com, and I spit in both of them and I send off the sample and I waited. Before too long, I got my email. Your results are in. And I looked at it and there for the first time was confirmation that I had a dad. And here was a whole bunch of people I had never known with names that were totally different.
These tests have been increasingly popular over the last few years. You can order them online, and within days, you can find out your ancestors, your ethnicity, and your heritage. In fact, genetic testing is considered a booming industry. A recent article claimed genetic testing as a global market will hit over $30 billion by the year 2027. But why are people so interested in their origins?
I wanted to find my biological father to know what I was made of, who I was made of. I wanted to know his story. I wanted to know his parents' story. I wanted to know how I came to be even.
As humans, we are deeply curious about our existence. And until we find an acceptable answer to our questions, we will continue to search and create. Through science, we've solved some of the puzzle about the origin of the world, but there are still a lot of theories that haven't been confirmed. And even in the scientific community, there is no single story everyone agrees on. Before we had modern science, almost every ancient culture had a creation story to explain the origin of their people and lands. Consistent themes used in these creation myths reveal a striking commonality throughout time and culture, and speak to a deeply human, shared desire for a truth that all people have. Humans use origin stories as a way to make sense of the world and hand down a meaningful explanation for our existence. It started with oral storytelling, which is likely as old as human language. As long as humans have been talking, they have been telling stories to explain natural occurrences and the history of their people. We are hardwired for stories, and storytelling is the oldest form of inquiry and education.
I think people recognize, consciously or unconsciously, the continuity of something, that the universe and the world didn't begin with them, that their story doesn't necessarily just begin with them, but that they're a continuity of something greater. And I think especially I was in old cultures, like a genealogy was part of the story, right? Even the Bible, so-and-so had so-and-so, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, 12 sons, Judah, and you can go on in genealogies. They're really important. And in other cultures beside the Bible culture, right? Genealogy was who you were.
As cultures developed, stories of origin, myth, and history were captured in pottery, tapestries, song, and more. But it's not just storytelling. Philosophers, scientists, theologians, really all human beings across all ages, cultures, and backgrounds have been driven by a deep desire for the truth about who we are and where we come from. And they have used every method and tool at their disposal in pursuit of that truth. From the earliest people's creation myths, to Aristotle's philosophy, to St. Augustine's restlessness, to Galileo's astronomy, to the modern scientific method, humans are in a constant quest to fulfill their desire to understand ourselves and the world we live in. One iconic example of someone seeking to discover the truth of the natural world is scientist Gregor Mendel, an Augustinian monk. He tended beehives, kept a record of the weather in his area, was the abbot of his monastery, and most famously, he is known as the father of modern genetics. You might already be familiar with Mendel's work. In the 19th century, he conducted tests on a variety of pea plants for the constancy of traits that were expressed in a distinctive manner, such as plant height or color. His work identified the difference between dominant and recessive traits, and laid the foundation for a modern understanding of genes that is now studied in Biology 101 classes around the world. Advancements from his work are used today in modern genetics tests. While it's unlikely that Mendel's journey started with divine intervention or angelic visitation, it is clear that he was driven by a desire written deep in his heart to discover truths of the created world. He sought answers to better understand the world, driven by that same foundational desire as the nearly 30 million people worldwide who have participated in home genetics tests.
So I think we inherit identity, and I think we can be in denial of that inheritance and try to create a new identity on our own. And to some extent, we do have a hand in shaping our identity, but there is something that is given, that is ontological and can't be changed. Again, literally written on every cell in our body.
This desire is universal and is a deeply spiritual desire. We all want to know where we came from, who we are connected to. We want to know what makes us special and unique, and most importantly, why we are here. This pursuit of truth and meaning around human existence has been a driving force behind advancement in nearly every discipline, and has captured the attention and imagination of people from every background. Knowledge about who we are and where we come from cannot come from a genetic test. It has to come from the one who brought us into existence. And, lucky for us, the one who wants to share with us the truth about who we are.
The biblical narrative with Adam, the son of God, God from whom every nation on earth derives, every question gets back to God ultimately. If you ask why enough times, it's always God, right?
As people of faith, we understand our search for meaning comes from our desire for God. We will never be fully satisfied by a material worldview that doesn't include God. Learning a scientific truth still leaves us asking why. Something deep within us wants to know this answer, because the desire for that truth isn't just in our minds, it's written on our hearts.
Hi, my name is Emily.
And my name is Edmund. Thanks for watching that video.
We made this video because we believe the Catechism of the Catholic Church is not just a collection of ideas, a set of rules, or a textbook.
Yeah, we believe the Catechism is a faithful echo of a God who desires to reveal himself to us.
Real+True makes videos and other content to retransform this echo into a living voice for the modern world.
And right now, all of these videos are made available for free in multiple languages: English, French,
Spanish,
and Portuguese. And right now, we're trying to go through the entire first pillar of the Catechism.
We hope to make even more videos to cover the entire Catechism, and we want to do it in even more languages and continuing to make this resource available for free to everyone.
Yeah, so you can help us accomplish that by giving a one-time gift or a monthly donation. Every little bit helps us accomplish this goal.
You can also show your support by sharing this video, subscribing to see more of our content, and I invite you to check out Real+True.org to learn all the ways you can support this mission. Thank you.
Thanks.